Thank you. Thank you. I'm Park from KISA, Korea Internet Security Agency. KISA is a government public agency working with the government body, which is specialized in privacy protection and security. To begin with, it's very honor for me to be here today and have a chance to introduce our privacy policies of Korea. As we learned and were reminded from previous speech and discussions from the morning, we are getting into the digitalized and globalized and data-driven economy. So the utilization of data and free flow of data and protection of data, especially personal data, is very becoming big challenges. So Korea, like many other countries, has been dedicating to meet the balances between them through developing privacy governance systems and law and policies. So let me introduce our privacy governance systems first. We have PIPC, top of it. PIPC is Personal Information Protection Commission, and PIPC is governing over all privacy policies of Korea, such as making basic privacy plans or overseeing other privacy-related authorities with the basement of general privacy laws. And we also have sectoral privacy laws in each sector, and in each individual authorities has enforcement power to its respective sectors. ICT and finance area is typical areas where the privacy regulation and provision is well developed. If there is no specific regulation or provisions in each sector, then the general privacy law is regulating. The Network Act, of which the competent authority is KCC, Korea Communications Commission, is applied to ICT sector, generally regarded as an online area, since 1998. The main principle of Network Act is such as like minimum collection or limitation of use and explicit prior consent, security measures and users' rights, etc. These are not that different from the international privacy standard privacy principles, such as OECD Privacy 8 principles or 9 principles of APEC privacy framework, and it could be somehow a little bit stricter than them. So for recent years, our government tried to respond more flexibly to the changing global ICT environment, such as that includes deregulation, such as by improving prior consent system or cross-border data transfer systems. And second, readiness for global privacy trend, such as by adopting global privacy standard or making balances to other countries. And third, preemptive response to the new ICT technology such as by developing new privacy guidelines in each field. And lastly, capacity building, such as self-regulation, by enhancing self-regulations of businesses. So now let me give you more details on our policies and activities on cross-border data transfer and key issues of newly developed privacy guidelines in Korea. Above all, in the middle of very complicated global environment, rising strong demands on both free flow of data and data localization. At the same time, it is not easy to positioning our policies, though. Our government is trying to respect flexibly, keeping on our own privacy, original privacy regimes. As one part of that, we are trying to adopt global private standard. So we recently joined the CBPR system. CBPR system is, as mentioned by Michelle in the morning, is a global privacy certification system having a basement of enforcement power and international cooperation. So we Korea, not only just being one of the CBPR member economies, we are intending to do a key role, to carry a key role to promote and build up these systems reflecting our privacy enforcement experience and where our domestic privacy certification operation experiences. And meanwhile, to respond to EU, which has a very strong policy for cross-border data transfer to other countries, we have been communicating with EU for a long time, and currently we are expecting a very big progress by Korea and EU, a high-level round table, which is planned to be held in coming October. Okay. Moving to the next, and emphasizing that one of the precondition or the basement of the sustainable or stable the growth of a digital economy is that a trusted market with the securement of data protection. Let me introduce our newly developed privacy guidelines on the new IST, technologies. First, this is guideline on so-called right to be forgotten. Most people will remember the EU decisions, on Google cases a few years ago. Similar to this, the online privacy infringement by others has been big, serious problems in Korea as well. So we've been regulating this by, Network Act or Copyright Act or Press Arbitration Act accordingly. But these regulations cannot cover the contents uploaded, posted by user oneself. So this guideline is developed for users, to be able to delete their own content uploaded, posted by themselves specifically. This guideline is not binding guideline, but strongly recommended to the businesses. So, and also apply to the global foreign businesses who provide services to Korean users. So when we developed this guideline, we got a discussion and kind of got an agreement from the major global company businesses like Google, Facebook, or Twitters like that. So this is, even though this is not binding, but it has a strong enforcement power. And second, the guideline on the de-identification. De-identification of personal data is necessarily required issue for big data industry. So we defined de-identification data as not linkable data to any individuals. So, and carried out a technical process from the preliminary review to following management step by step. So in case of the identified data, the businesses can use it and provide it to the third parties without users' consent. Third, this is a guideline on online behavior advertisement. According to this guideline, the first party or third party who is intended to online target market, they should notify users of the details on the advertisement, and they should let them know how to refuse this advertisement. And lastly, guidelines on smartphone app to keep the smartphone app from accessing excessively to the personal data stored on the users' devices. So in Korea, it is required to get users' consent before they use its apps by law, Network Act, since last year. So this guideline introduces how to carry out this regulation for its concerned players, such as app market or app service provider or app developers, etc. This also applied to foreign companies, businesses, such as Google and Apple. So when we developed this guideline, we already discussed and kind of get an agreement with them. So they are following our guidelines currently. So in addition to these guidelines, our government is still working on other fields like biometric data protection or online user identifier, and we are expanding areas to others. Yeah. This was a brief introduction of privacy policies of Korea, as partly mentioned above, and with the basement of the advanced ICT technology and the stable privacy enforcement system and response capacity to the changing global privacy trend, and as well as the international network. Korea is trying to take a position as one of global privacy leader countries. Thank you.